Toyota. Heyo, everybody. A late night episode. Ji Hong Shu. All right. Howdy, howdy. Did you know you can tune an engine to translate its horsepower to noise instead of torque? I actually learned that studying planes, and it makes a lot of sense, really. It could be false advertising, could be deliberate, but it's definitely, seemingly, the sort of shit that you get when you let Japanese and German scientists that ultimately did manufacture a tremendous amount of the destruction in their own backyard into your backyard because you want something from them. Tisk, 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 tisk. Did you know that you can get 100 horsepower out of a 1.4 liter engine in regular gas? You gotta look for that octane. You gotta look for the efficiency when you're dealing with actual mechanics and not just bullshit meant to flex and strut and do the little peacock thing, and peacocks strut around because they can't fly very well. So, phosphorescence is fascinating. We don't lie and say it's not real because it's complicated. We see the lightning bugs wink and we smile back. It's beautiful. And the more people see nature, the more they come to respect it. It's as simple as that. Nature is such a finely tuned mechanism. It's incredibly flexible. And we should simultaneously worry about it and not worry about it. We should protect it as if it was a child, but also see it like a mother in that it has protected us for a long period of time and it knows what it's doing. And so, all the great scientists have learned from nature. The basis is naturopathy. Out of that, then you can grow some form of alchemical process. But this BS about turning everything into gold, you can't do it. You're not the sun. What ants tell you is that there is a hole somewhere in your house. And you should fix that hole instead of blaming the ants. Also shouldn't leave stuff out. That's another method of avoiding ant proliferation. But they will bury their dead if you just kill them and leave them. They'll come back and they'll bury their dead. They're noble creatures. And so it's best to just kind of scare them off, see where they're going, trace that in, seal up holes. And you know, if you want to feed your ants, go for it. I love my local ants. I'm pretty sure my local ants fend off fire ants. Really, really nice game about perspective is Subnautica. It's a game based on how cool coral reefs, other glowing entities. It's about how cool coral reefs are and what it feels like to be a very small fish in a very big pond. And the original one has an amazing soundtrack composed by a genius Polish man who was unfortunately, this is one of the first things, before early Kyler, he was assaulted in his career by BLM controversy. And that makes me sad, but ultimately it is a weapon in the hands of people who didn't even know what they were wielding, directed against people they thought that they were their enemies who weren't. I used to have a friend back in high school. He was like a 200 IQ Nintendo homebrew Mario Kart snaking Pokemon master nerd. He's a good friend. He ended up moving to Colorado. And he taught me a lot about how much you can do with the thing that you thought was, this, and then it's actually made up of a whole bunch of different parts. And back when I was in high school, that was, really something. It's something I strive to emulate. And when we were in high school, we were both in video game club. And he and I made a website. And one of those days, I pissed him off. And this guy's smart enough that he was being able to make like GIFs of our faces and animate them and everything in little pixel art and stuff. He's very smart. And so he went in and he deleted everything off of my website that I made for the video game club and sent me into a panic attack. Oh, that was good. That was some real good lesson learning shit right there. I don't regret going through that, even though it hurt real bad when I saw my entire website whited out. Oh well. I had invested too much emotion into it, and if I keep on, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, the less you can do, so you got to move on to something else. And, I pissed him off, and he showed me a real nice lesson, and I miss that guy a lot. I continue to be friends with him afterwards, It is what it is. He had to go off and be a super successful 200 IQ science guy out there in the Colorado hills, probably having a good time. It's one of the only places in the country where you can really, isolate the American spirit, but it's also full of aspen dickweeds. It's actually, Colorado is actually historical Spanish territory, too, interestingly enough. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that Colorado is, just another part of traditional America, like Nebraska. Kind of a synthesis of things, and that's one of the things that makes it so cool. It won't be long before people start calling real nature AI. That's coming. Oh, it's coming. And it's going to severely hurt the way that people grasp on to naturopathy. It's already coming down the lines. So I strongly suggest that if you find people propagating, AI birds twitching about, please try to, block that off, focus on something else, because it's not something to invest in, it's not something to put in your head. And the more you have these weird synthesis, hybrid, fake animals in your head, the harder it will be for you to actually determine what species is which. And that just makes you dumber at the end of the day. If it upsets you, put it out of your mind. Wait a bit, then expect it. See if it's improved. It's very intelligent to accept wrongness or to be patient enough to watch things change for the better. But one thing you can't do is emotionally investing yourself in every single thing that you see. And so, if it's unnerving, if it's disappointing, upsetting, give it some time. It might not always be that way. Don't just consign it. Don't be hyper-prejudiced, but remember the order of things. Remember the order of operations first, and then remember how things manifest through natural science. That really does help you put things together in a proper agenda in the right order, and that will cause you to master many things that you were only a novice at before, without having to journey around and become a journeyman. I was watching Candace Owens, and she's getting into it with the president of France right now. I think that's pretty awesome. I think that's pretty funny. One thing I really, really, really don't like is that the French, she's friends with Andrew Tate, and it's just like, it's a big contradiction right there. That's a big contradiction right there. In fact, the entire thing that has pissed me off immensely about Russell Brand is his incredible closeness to Andrew Tate at this moment. He has also consigned himself to selling magical trinkets, and he's been going downhill ever since they caught him up in lawsuits about his the behavior that was hoisted on him as a superstar, normalized at everything. And I'm not sure to what degree it was Me Too, to what degree it was a legitimate sexual assault, which, it doesn't matter what you look like, how much charisma you have. You can genuinely get sexual assaulted by anybody. Or you can sexual assault somebody, even if you're, a pop star, beloved by women, etc. It's just about, the situation. So, regardless, he should have. I remembered I watched him constantly. back when before all that dropped, and I defended him when that dropped on the Kiwi farms, when people were coming at him for being an Obama supporter and all this. And I would definitely lambaste him for being an Obama supporter, but I don't blame him for that because he didn't know any better. He was a celebrity. He was doing his job as a celebrity. But he got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And ultimately, like, one of the things that, like, flared up my old wound of the hatred that I had for DJ TJ was seeing him hang out at Florida with DJ TJ and seemingly, like, develop, like, a new coke addiction. You know, that's what it seemed like. I'm not sure if it was just an energy transfer or, you know, that thing that you get when you're close to somebody, you get, like, a contact high, that's what it's called. Or if he was genuinely off the wagon and they went out to Phoenix to get some, like, more balanced pharmaceuticals. But it was downhill. It was downhill, downhill, downhill. And Los Angeles is an evil, 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 evil place. You know, the Saudis really, really worked their way into Western politics after Margaret Thatcher teamed up with Ronald Reagan and his devilish Vice President Moloch H.W. Bush. They got themselves deep, 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 deep into Los Angeles, and they drained Lake Mead dry. Lake Mead, by the way, which services large portions of California for their water. Saudi Arabia isn't the only bastards out in Los Angeles. There is also a tremendous amount of pornographers and gamblers and sex addicts that they've climbed up the rank by selling their sex and selling their gambling, and they have set up shop there. And I can't help but think that there's something underground in that overpriced patch of desert, because it is ultimately an overpriced patch of desert by which you have to import water, import food, and they eat like kings. There has to be something going on there. Some sort of an investment. I remember Sheldon Adelson, who passed away, ripped to an unreal one. He was very much set up in Los Angeles, and his wife is tremendously better, and she might have inherited a lot of that. One can hope that she turns it around, because it always takes a little while to get things going, to get the ball rolling. There's always consequences of actions that come down the pipe later on. But it is what it is at the moment. Los Angeles is absolutely fucked. Like, it gets worse and worse and worse. All the freedom you think that's there, they're literally in the process of pulling out the cutouts and taking down the curtains and pulling out the chairs so that you can see that you're actually in a brick wall prison. That's Frank Zappa. And he was so right. Oh, gosh. He was right. He was right about a lot of shit, but, you know, he wasn't the smartest person in the world. But for his time, you see. For his time, he was really tapping into something. And another very intelligent star of his general era, he grew up around here, is the guy from The Doors. Gosh, I forgot what his name was. I thought it was Jimmy something. Break on through to the other side. You know, that guy is like really skinny with the curly hair. I forgot his name, sorry. He's also very intelligent. His parents are very intelligent. He's very intelligent. And he's kind of an alumni of my area. I thought that was pretty cool when I found that out. So, France, as I said, whoa, that was a big tangent. As I was saying, I was watching Candace Owens getting into it with the French president, and it reminded me of Michel Foucault, one of my least favorite philosophers of all time. Most hated. Favorite to hate. Michel Foucault, whose philosophy was almost directly responsible for the lowering of the age of consent. I thought it was 14. It's, according to what I saw on Candace Owens' stream, it's 15 now. It might have bounced around. It's evil, because if you study what happens to a woman, when she gets pregnant when she's 15, she dies like 3 times the rate as if she was like 19, you know? It's evil. Even when she's 19, 20, she's still growing. She's still getting taller. She's still getting bigger. Her hips are getting wider. Her brain's developing. You know, all this crazy shit about, yeah, we live in an area where people are poisoning themselves. People can still be taught to eat right, and it's actually really cheap, and there's no shaky bottle of pills, nootropics, or fucking, ivermectin, hydrochloroquine that will solve their problems. Not everything is caused by parasites. Not everything is, a brain issue. And everything's about willpower and testosterone. It's a lot of shit that, like, comes from the earth. Takes a while. Humble farmers grow it. It's simple. Some of it's very bitter. The bitterer, the better. And that's what ultimately makes you healthy. I swear by it. I got the legitimate numbers on my health exam to prove it, that it really, really does the job. You get like some zucchini and carrot in there as like a serving or two. You get 3 servings of whole grain. You get 3 servings of beans. You get your B12 in there. You get your berries. You get your fruit separate. Two servings of fruit, 1 serving of berry. Get some nutritional yeast. You get in your food, of course. Don't get a dirty mind. And you get other sorts of stuff like cumin in your food, of course. Don't get a dirty mind. And then you're good to go. You don't need a billion zillion vaccines or, cutting edge technology. It's not going to make you better than the wonderful, beautiful ancestors that we came from. Oh, no. They developed that food. A lot of these foods, like strawberries, were developed by the Britons in Brittany, Brehonids in France, and the kale, which developed by the Celtic people, and Brussels sprouts, naturally, Brussels, developed by the Celtic people, and tons of stuff developed by the beautiful Germans and the wonderful Slavs, and grown to be better and better for us, selected to be better and better for us, grown with us. Some of it we need. We need B12. People who eat meat get a good amount of B12 if they're doing what Hank Hill says and eating their burgers slightly rare with some juice in it. That helps you get the B12, but you're still deficit in B12 unless you take a sublingual methylcobalamin supplement or you drink virgin like lake and stream water, river water. And the river is ultimately where the cyanobacteria that develops B12 comes from. It'll be interesting to see if that picks up later. Kind of want to poke my head out there and see what sort of a truck that is, but no worries. The issue is it's like 11:30 and it's the middle of the week. Oh well. I can't expect any sort of like decency and honor from a DeSantis, Florida. That guy is an absolute dead in the mind creep. Oh well. Indiana Jones lore is basically theosophy to the letter. And I thought that was very interesting when I was looking through it. Like all of it, every last bit of it is theosophy, perfectly encapsulated with a bit of Hollywood happy merchant propaganda. The Krampus is 16th century neo-pagan. It actually comes from a company of St. Nicholas, a person who would dress up as St. Nicholas and give away toys, and he would be followed by the Krampus assistants that would scare the bad children. If they were bad, they would get the Krampus whippings, and if they were good, then they would be in the adjacent juxtaposed by St. Nicholas giving toys to really hammer home that lesson. Which, mind you, they're not being sent off to a work camp. That's something that don't work. Let me tell you, my father got sent off to a work camp and it did not help him. It was like a sort of a military school style thing. Did not solve the problems because the problems were very easy to solve. They were emotional, attachment problems built on lack of communication. That's as simple as that. To get a little personal, I'm sure my father doesn't mind. He's a very open and patient man. The reason why, if I probably told you about this before on the stream, the reason why he got a spinal injury is because his mother's boyfriend was a poor driver. And he fell asleep on his mother's lap thinking that the guy was okay, and he woke up pinned underneath a car after feeling like he was being dragged down a soft hill, and then woke up and he couldn't move. His foot was in the gas can. His brother, who ended up being a Marine going into Vietnam, lifted the truck up, got him out of there. Like, really brilliant stuff, but his spine was unfortunately injured because of the dumbass Mother's boyfriend. Now, the mother is a very sweet woman, but unfortunately, it sucks when you get this. I hate to say it, guys. I hate to give it to you, but it's the Protestants. You know, they really don't respect marriage, and that was probably something that was levied onto them by freaks like Joseph Smith, who was a Mason, who created the White Islam, known as the Mormons, who are overwhelmingly represented in the Pentagon and intelligence agencies. Fuck you. Not you guys. You guys are cool. You know, Merck and Siemens, two literal Nazi companies, not German companies, Nazi companies. Merck makes vaccines, and it obfuscates that shit, and it gives people tons of health issues. Siemens makes the most annoying, dangerous, and expensive trains to ever exist, running on time to nowhere, nobody needs it, and even here on my local line costing $100 million a year, down the fucking drain, for nothing. And so they can buy up some more land over in Las Vegas and plan their fucking parties with their Saudi buddies. And the Nazis, if they were alive today, from the 40s, would absolutely send them to the gas chambers. These neo-Nazis, 1,000%. Anyways, that's enough Indiana Jones. Something that fails in Christian apologetics is the rationality that if it makes sense to you, it makes sense to everybody. Don't do that. Don't just do the lock, stock, and barrel techniques. Ask them. Who do you think the most important and close to God person is? And find ways to juxtapose that to Christ and notice that his honest, deep sacrifice is more genuine. And from before his birth to well after his birth, you have all of these lessons reflected as a foundation and a building of what he managed to accomplish. Did you know that there was a 240-year alliance between the French and the Ottomans, started by Henry II of France, not Masonic France, kept through the Masonic uprising, ultimately broken by Napoleon! Yeah, boy! Napoleon. One of the greatest men to ever exist. Truly a man with a world soul who activated it and synthesized in a very brilliant way. Unfortunately, he was killed by the Rothschilds. You know, he was poisoned by arsenic after being sent to St. Helena. And then they dissolved the Banque de France. So you got like his the calling card of the Rothschilds is arsenic poisoning. And back then it was hard for alchemists to be able to do such advanced stuff. But they had it together. And that's one of the things that gave them an edge. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, during World War I, we were dropping mustard gas all over the young men that were supposed to be the next generation. What are you going to do? It is what it is. Go look up Steve Mnuchin 2020 money printing, and look how many of your bills have his name on them. It feels like construction paper. In 2020, the government ran a $3.1 trillion deficit. That is $2 trillion more than they thought it was going to run. How is that happening? They only sent out $1,400 to people. It's because Steve Mnuchin printed a ton of money and injected into the economy as liquidity. And then, you know, inflation. It was a lot Biden, but it was also a lot Mnuchin, and I have a strong feeling that Trump knows this, and Trump sees the fact that he had people telling him, yo, X, Y, and Z, this is gonna go off without a hitch, and then there was certainly a hitch. So, pray for our president. I hope you have been. I hope you keep praying for our president. Keep it up. Keep it up. Manifest that shit. Excuse me 1 second. When you work in the drama mines, don't be surprised when you get drama lung. Cenk Uygur looks like he only drinks seed oils and nothing else. Tao wisdom. Our mistake, your victory. There's no time in your life where Taoism won't help. And I wish I applied Taoist lessons to a lot of the shit, especially in Kiwi farms. You know, like would have kept me at probably an advisory role if I stayed a good Taoist. And I was just like, it's not about me. No, it's not about me. Bully me if you want. Fuck with me if you want. Call me whatever you want, man. I'm here to help. And that's ultimately what I felt in my heart, but I didn't practice proper Taoism. I got caught up in it. Florida cruise ships are certainly owned by Nurgle. Well, that's a fact, Jack. That ain't no joke. Abrahamic religions are a good coping mechanism for living in the desert, but that's not what they're intended to create. Think of the Garden of Jannah. Think of the beauty of Europe. Think of what Israel could be if they get their shit together and they stop killing all their neighbors all the time for no reason offensively. Like, really, Syria really seals the deal. Like, Lebanon is one thing because there's a few things exchanged there. Syria really seals the deal. They're just taking up as much as they can get their grubby little hands on. Church is good because it allows you to earn serotonin with the help of others, and usually is an oxytocin-rich environment. But the goal of monotheistic religions is to ascend past your neurotransmitters into the realm of the preternatural and supernatural. That's the goal. I heard the Pentagon was... oh God, I don't know if I should say that. I heard the Pentagon was partnering with Bad Dragon to make an AI-powered dildo that only activates with your voice, and it's connected to Wi-Fi and auto-uploads to the cloud. Oh, Lord help me. Some people still think that they can achieve their goals through the Democratic Party. But what Biden has done has completely destroyed that. Bernie was the only option to fight an uphill war, but the battle has been lost. And it's never been harder to address the issues like healthcare and the environment after what he's done, how much he's run the issues into the dirt and been manipulated to do so, and done so out of the evil of his own wicked heart. One of the main reasons why I really, really love Matt Christman, Chapo Trap House, is when Bernie dropped out, he started his podcast. His Kush Vlog podcast that I strongly suggest checking out. It's slow, but it's full of deep, deep wisdom, and there's some episodes that are just boom, boom, boom. Awesome. Brilliant. Like, he's one of the people that I got the words for the Golden Light from. And he's like, I called him a Budeo-Christian once in his chat on Twitch, and they like that a lot. Biden will go down as the Nero of the modern era, playing the record player at night while LA burns. And that's a fact, Jack. So look out for your loved ones and check in with your mama. Take care.